Hi everyone, my name's Linda and I am the scrapbooking photographer. Welcome to today's video. Now if this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by, but if you've already subscribed then I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Today's video is for a new hop which started last month for stamping like it's hot. So it's to encourage everybody to use their stamps more. And today's topic is to stamp a border. Last month was stamp a title and unfortunately I wasn't able to do that, so I missed it. So I'm going to try and do both today. As it happens, this month we have a special on at Close to My Heart with this stamp set coming as part of the For Always pack, which is a Bring Back Your Pack special release. So I haven't used this yet, but I thought that this stamp here, which is one of the three in this set called In the Background, might just work quite nicely for a border for my photos. And the photos that I want to work with today are from my flower garden. I do grow flowers each year, mainly so I can photograph them and bring them inside. So these are my cosmos. They went absolutely ballistic. I haven't got a photo of them all taking over the garden, but I did get some lovely shots while they were in bloom. This one has a lovely bokeh in the background from a light filter that a friend of mine gave me. So if I just lay them out, you can see that they're quite colourful, and there was a whole range of colours here, and I grow them in a cage because one of my dogs likes to eat the flowers. So I have a big old chicken pen which I grow flowers in, and I might do a video on that at some stage, but I grow them in there so I can go into the cage and photograph them without the dog eating them or bothering me, but also so that they're protected. The bees just loved these flowers. I was trying to work out what colours to go with them, so I did a little bit of an experiment with some different inks. Just with a little sponge, I tried some different colours going through the ranges of pinks, and it's interesting to see how different they are when you actually use the ink. So that's always a good idea rather than just winging it and stamping straight away. You might be disappointed with the result. So from that, I quite liked this colour, which is actually an old colour from Close to My Heart called Thistle. So it's retired now, but just because it's not in the range doesn't mean you throw it out. So I'm still going to use that, and it's just, I think, the ideal colour for today. I wanted to bring in a contrasting colour, and this green is just beautiful against the pink. So what I thought I might do is start off with the green background, and then I was tossing up whether to bring in the white daisy or the French vanilla. And I don't know if you can see the difference on camera, but it is quite noticeable in person. So the French vanilla, which is the one on the top, is quite a bit softer, and I think that's the one I'm going to go for. So I'll just put these to one side for now. Actually, what I'm going to do is start with the evergreen on the back. Now with all Close to My Heart papers, they are two-sided, so we have a light side and a dark side. I want the dark side today, so I'm going to use it that way. When I bring the French vanilla in, I'm going to come in 1/4 of an inch all the way around and have a frame. And then I'm going to mount the green again on top. So it's going to be a layered effect. So what I'm going to start with is just cut out the inside of the evergreen so that it's 11 by 11, and that will give us our outside frame. So bringing in the trimmer. Okay, so I've got the arm out on this, and if I line this up here, I'm going to be able to bring the trimmer in an inch there and also start lining it up an inch here, and then come down to it where the little arrow meets the 11 and do that all the way around, and that will give me the insert out that I can then reuse. So with the last line trimmed there, I can take this out, and there I've got an insert. So putting that aside, bringing back the mat, that's our outside. And then this, to start with, I'm going to take 1/2 inch off two sides, and that should give us the 1/4 inch frame all the way around. Okay, so if we bring that back in, okay, and that's going to be the piece that we stamp our border on, and then this piece is going to come into the middle. Now we've already cut that out, and it is 10 by 10, and that gives us a little narrow border there, but our stamp is actually a little wider. So I'm going to take another 1/2 inch off each side of this. Okay, and bringing that back, yeah, that gives us a good border to stamp with. And then on top of that, I'm going to put more French vanilla, which will have the photos on. Okay, to save doing the maths, I'm going to just bring this down a little bit and do a little pencil mark there, and the same on this side. So with the trimmer, and measure that 1 1/4 over this side, and then come in 1 1/4, and then this one's going to come in a little bit further down to there. I'll do this one next. So again, starting at 1 1/4, coming down to meet it, and we've got our insert. So now we've got our green outline. What we're going to stamp our border on, the outline for our photos, and then where the photos are going to go. So I have trimmed a little piece off the edges and off the sides, and I've come up with that sort of size, which leaves a nice gap between them, so it sort of frames them nicely, gives me somewhere to put a title. And this bit up here, I'm going to use a section of this image, and I think the bottom has got the variety of colours, so I'm going to use that section. So just getting it the right size, and I really do things pretty much by eye and hand. Okay, so we've got those stuck down, and then we can stick this to its frame. So we can put that to one side. We'll come back and stamp on there soon. And before we attach this, we need to do our stamping on it. So I'm going to put the mat underneath the multi-purpose mat, sponge side up, multi-purpose mat over the top. Now you can use a piece of paper rather than the multi-purpose mat, because some of the ink might go off the side. And because this is a brand new stamp, I'll need to season it as I take it out. It's just a matter of running my forearm over it, and that just removes the protective film. And if you don't do this, then sometimes the ink doesn't stay on it as well as you'd like. Okay, and I've got this block stamp which should work well. Using the thistle. If you look through the stamp once you've put the ink on it, it just is a way of double checking that all the ink has got into the right places. Okay, so let's start at the bottom. Oops. I'm just going to slightly overlap it. Okay, and then I'll just do a little bit on this end. So just by slightly overlapping it, you can sort of blend the join so it doesn't look like a join. And then we'll turn it round and do the other side. Do the side coming up here. And because this is the top, we'll do that going the same direction as the bottom one, rather than turning it around upside down. Although this stamp is quite cool in that the swirls go all sorts of different ways, so there probably isn't a wrong or a right way. Okay, now I've just got that little bit left. And what I don't want is a double ink over there. Okay, so I don't want it to overhang down the bottom either. So I just need it to overlap very slightly, so just like that, and then doing our normal overlap, and hopefully that's going to be okay. Alrighty, so we'll just let that dry a little bit, wipe the excess ink off, and then we can bring the mat back up to the top, and we're starting with our 12 by 12 piece of evergreen. We'll just see how this looks. Okay, so there's just a couple of little things I want to do to add a bit to it. And one is I'm going to go around the edges of these. You might notice here that my blade's just getting a little bit blunt on my trimmer, and I don't like these little frame bits, so I'm going to just touch them up, and I'm going to do the same around the outside of this one with the thistle, just to blend it. Just to soften the edge a little bit. So I've done the white piece, but you can see clearer on this green cardstock how there is a white core in the middle of the evergreen paper cardstock. So when you trim it, it often leaves the white piece a little bit visible, particularly if your blade is starting to get a little blunt. So just going around the outside like this covers that up. So the alphabet that I think would look quite nice is called Morgan's Hand. It's quite a script alphabet, and I'm going to stamp it directly on there first, if I make a mistake, I can go over the top. So with the word cosmos, we've got obviously the C, which isn't a problem. Then we've got 2 O's. So I'll just get you closer so that you can see how I deal with that. Lining them up on the block, the C, and we put the O in. Then the S, and then we need the O again. So because we now know how much space is needed there, we'll take that little guy out and put him here. And we also need an S on the end, but it's easier to add that later than leave a bigger gap here. So we'll stamp that, and then we can move the O back here and the S to the end. So let's have a look, make sure it's straight. Okay, so I'll just move that to one side and turn this over. And I think we'll stamp an evergreen. Excuse my head. So we can clean what we've got here without taking anything off. So before we take the O, we're going to move the S to the end. And then you've got the gap where the O was, and then we'll move this back to here. I don't suppose it really matters which way around you do it. But you don't want to stamp the C or the M again. So take them off. And using them on the big block here, you could do it with a small block and just fill in the gaps. But if I do it on here, it should already be lined up in the right place. Time for my head again. Now, rather than stick onto the back of this, I'm going to put the double-sided tape just on the edge of the green. And using the grid to line it up. And the same with this one. We haven't got quite as much space on this one, so we just have to be a little bit careful. So I want to put some leaves up here, and I've found in this new set of perched budgies from Close to My Heart. These are gorgeous little a stem of leaves there. So I've cut them out and I'll stamp it. And I also want to put a couple of little tags in, which I've also trimmed out on the Cuttlebug. And I found in this is something to do with Grace, Bloom with Grace, that came out some time ago. So I've got, as you know, you get these bits left. So Time to Bloom, I think, is quite appropriate. And So Happy also is, or Treasuring This Moment would be good, but it's too long. So Happy is good too. So I've cut these little tabs out on the Cuttlebug. And just popping that in there, oops, just gives us that extra piece of green. So we've got 1, 2, 3. And this little flower comes from the Hello Darling digital artwork, and it's one of the pieces cut out with a little bit of vellum behind it. So I've cut that out on my Cricut, and it's actually left over from another project. So I think I can just pop that there. And last but not least, we've got a few little dots that we can pop around that just seem to blend in quite nicely. So that is my page for Stamp Like It's Hot with a border, a stamped border. And I have to confess I don't often do that, so it was really fun to do, and I'm quite happy with the result. And I've also done a stamp title, which makes up for missing last month. So I'll take some close-ups and put at the end of the video. Make sure you watch everybody else's, because there'll be some amazing ideas come through from the hop. Thank you very much for watching. As I say, if it's your first time here and you'd like to subscribe, your subscription would be very welcome. Thanks very much for watching, and happy crafting, everyone.